What is up, image bears? Welcome back to Christian Craft, where we talk about God, the Bible, and just about everything else. In this video, we're going to start off... Ooh, my chunks are not quite loaded in. This is funny. This video, we're going to start off at the image bear wheat field. We have 622 subscribers. That's pretty excellent, guys. Thank you so much for the love and support. This field represents every single one of our subscribers, so if you want to be planted in this field, then drop a subscribe. Today's video, we're going to continue making progress on the villager trading hall and iron farm matrix. And it's super ironic because the iron farm is only a quarter done, but it already produces way more iron than I ever would need. So I'm kind of like, oh man, it's not really my top priority to finish the iron farm anymore. I got to get this villager trading hall caught up. Because I have way more iron than I do have villagers that trade for iron. And it also made me realize, oh dang, I need gold. So, depending on how long this video is going to be, maybe we go to the nether and we go to the nether roof and we set up shop on the nether roof to try start a gold farm, because we'll definitely need a gold farm. Or we could go on an adventure to a bastion. What are you doing here, man? Get out of here. Get out of here. Whoa, you have a flame bow. Do not shoot the creeper and ignite it. Wowzers. Insane reaction time. Shoot this zombie. Set him on fire. Yeah, set that loser on fire. Yo, they're both on fire. Okay, now they should be fighting each other. Bro, now they should be fighting each other. But basically, there's a lot of things we could do. I think I want to, this episode, focus on trading hall. But there's also other things on our horizons. Like, we need a gold farm. We're going to need an XP farm. And I'm thinking we're going to probably do it like a silverfish. Like a silverfish XP farm. Which, if you don't know what that is, you'll find out in our future. Because I bet we're going to make one. Bro. But basically, the mechanics of a silverfish farm is they created these new potions. Well, I don't know how new they are anymore. But basically, they're called infestation potions, where whatever mob takes damage, like if a mob takes damage, there's a chance it'll spawn silverfish. And armadillos, they take damage, like a tick of damage, but they regenerate at a rate faster than they take damage. So basically, armadillos take infinite damage without dying. So for however long the potion's duration is, which I think is like 3 minutes with the splash potion, then you basically get non-stop silverfish spawning and you get to kill them, and it gives really good XP. So we'll definitely not making that this video because it requires like 20 plus armadillos. We don't even have 2 armadillos. So, you know, that farm, the silverfish XP farm, I'm just going to sleep. I hate dealing with monsters. But yeah, that XP farm, basically, it requires a bunch of armadillos, which requires a good bit of spider eyes. So maybe we're skipping some steps. But those are just some of the things that are on our horizon, things that we can do. This video, we've got one task at hand. That's to get some good armor, get some good tools, get some emeralds. Let's do it. Okay, cool. I'm going to go sleep, and then I'm going to go plant 622 seeds, 1 for each subscriber. Okay, it looks like things are loaded in now. That was kind of funny how everything was just big blocks. I have a lot of things on my mind of what we could talk about. because people are constantly asking me really good questions. And it's hard because so many questions I'm asked, I know people will give a better answer than I will. So it's like, should I talk about every philosophical matter that's sent my way and give my opinion on it? Or should I be like, yo, check out this video. This guy explains it better than I do. Here's my thing. I guess this video I figured out what we're going to talk about by this very thing being posed. My thing is this. I reject the idea that you have to be an expert to have an opinion on something. I reject the idea you have to be an expert to have a correct opinion on something. And I think everyone believes this to be true, but not everyone applies this fairly and equally. Because I think many atheists would say, well, for a long time, the leading geniuses of the Western world were all Christians. The majority of people were all Christians. But then we discovered in science reasons to question Christianity. And so now Christianity is dead, even though it was the majority view at one time. But why did people question in the first place? If that's what all the experts thought, if that's what the majority ruled. You know, there was a time where in human history, the predominant view was it's good to have slaves. That was predominantly the view globally. I think it's good to have skepticism and question things. And so for a time, Christianity was the predominant view. So it's good to have skepticism of that. But now, even though religion is far outweighs, I mean, religion, people who are religious far outnumber people who are not religious. That doesn't make it true or not. Don't make conclusions I'm not making. Doesn't make it true or not, right? I believe that the majority of people can be wrong on something and it's wrong. They can think something and it's still wrong. I don't care how many people think something is true. I don't care how smart people, it's going to be a difficult day, this video, because my brain is just all over the place. I just graduated yesterday, and I guess I've immediately turned off my brain. Or it's just that I'm really tired. It's probably that. Let me start over. I don't really care. Oh, did I mess up? I think I did. We're just going to start over. Clean slate. I don't think I did mess up. I think I had it right. That's embarrassing. Okay, cool. So I have 9 stacks of 64. What is that? 576. And we have 622. So is that 46? Okay, so I need a 46 after this. Okay. Let me start from scratch. You don't need to be an expert to have an opinion on something. You don't have to be in agreement with the majority to have an opinion on something. Own your opinions and have good reasons for them. If you're going to disagree with scholarship, you better have good reasons. If you're going to disagree with the majority, you better have good reasons. There's nothing wrong with just going with the majority and saying, I don't really know, so I go with the majority. Go ahead. That's fine. No one's going to judge you for that. Unless it's like, you know, I'm speaking in generalities of like basic truths. if you go along with the majority on something that is just like appalling, because there are many things that the majority of people today agree with that are appalling, that the experts agree on, and it's appalling, right? So like, my point is this. Everyone has their own perspective. Everyone has their own worldview. Is it reasonable to hold your worldview? The values and beliefs that you have, are they reasonable? Also, I realized I'm coming at it from both sides, and then that means there's going to be a gap in the middle, and that's going to look really weird. So, sorry about that. So back to my examples. For a long part of human history, religious norms were never questioned. You know, people weren't literate. People didn't have access to the Bible in their own language that they could understand, and even if they did, they couldn't necessarily read it. So the institution of the church was a very powerful one, where they were able to decide uncontested what theological truth is. And there were people who disagreed, and they are anathematized, they're excommunicated, they're kicked out, or they're killed. And the Reformation was a period marked by, oh wait, these guys didn't get killed, they actually did it. And by actually did it, of course, I mean, they kind of did it. Because, you know, I'm pretty reformed in my theology. I'm a fan of the Reformation. Shout out Martin Luther. But Martin Luther's goals, he set out to reform the church, not to create his own denomination, not to break away from church tradition and church history, which Protestant slander is so forced and so, it's such LARP. You know, Protestant slander is such LARP. 46, right? Because Protestants don't detach themselves from church history. Protestants don't detach themselves from church authority. They just hold, holy moly, when you conflate absolute political power with religious authority, you're gonna get some corruption, and that's exactly what we got. So I think most people can agree, yeah, Reformation good. Except for Catholics, obviously. Love you, Catholics. God bless you. We are united in Christ. So, I think we can agree Reformation good. I think we can agree abolition of slavery good. I think we can agree that giving equal rights under the law is good. I'm not compelled in pretty much any of my views. This is how I am wired. I'm never convinced by the standalone position of this is what most people think, or the standalone position of this is what scholars think. Most of my views I agree with scholarship on. There's a lot of views I disagree with scholarship on. That's true with a lot of people. So like, if somebody wants to hear my worldview, listen to what I'm saying. I want to listen to what you're saying. I don't really care. If you say something and I'm like, well, that goes against the conventional understanding of something, maybe you're providing something that could transform the way we think about this topic. Like, we all need to have a level of healthy skepticism and a healthy level of open-mindedness. Open-mindedness in its absolute is dangerous. Skepticism in its absolute is dangerous. There's a balance. Also, guys, little off-camera progress. Moved these guys over here. I want to just have a single wall of these types and then have a single wall of these iron guys. So I have a couple of iron guys. Pretty cool. We're going to move these guys over here. I don't know why my particular brain is just like, I want to have these two guys here, but it doesn't affect anything. Like, I should just put them here and call it a day. I also can just easily extend. I also just realized I can extend it this way too. Now that I think of it, that's probably a pretty good idea. No, let's just chill out. These guys can be there. It's fine. But let's go get some iron. Check on the iron farm, shall we? When I'm talking to an individual, unless I'm talking about, let's debate what scholars think, then obviously we need to appeal to scholars, right? If I make a claim like, well, most scholars don't actually think this, and somebody's like, well, show me that, I better be able to back it up. But if somebody asks me, where do you think life came from? And I say, well, I'm skeptical of abiogenesis. And somebody's like, well, abiogenesis is the predominant view. I'm like, I know that. I don't really care. I don't really care that's the predominant view. I have never observed that we are able to create life from chemicals. And I'm affirmed in that view because that's the fundamental postulate of cellular biology. I'm not saying abiogenesis is impossible. I'm saying I'm skeptical of it. I don't hold to it. I could be convinced of it if it's true. If it's demonstrated to be true, I could be convinced of abiogenesis, which abiogenesis is the view that life began abios, without life. So abiogenesis, and genesis means formation, creation. Abiogenesis is the view that life began from non-life, but also the fundamental theory of wow, this is doing really well. The fundamental theory of biology. This is only by the way, this is only a quarter. This is only a quarter of the farm. Like, this is an incomplete farm. So this is kind of why I'm like, yeah, I don't really even feel the need to finish it this episode. I kind of just want to, ooh, I didn't mean to do that. But back to my point. Abiogenesis is the view that life began without life. But everything we observe within biology today tells us the opposite, that you cannot create life from non-life. So I'm skeptical and reject abiogenesis. Whereas Big Bang cosmology? A lot of Christians have a problem with the Big Bang cosmology. I don't really debate Big Bang cosmology. I don't know much about it. So I just say, yeah, I have no reason. I have no good reason to disagree with that model. If somebody says most scientists are atheists, one, I'd like to see what that actually means. Like, yeah, maybe within whatever. Let's say it's true. Let's say it is true that most scientists are atheists. Let's say that's true. That doesn't, I don't care. I have personal reasons why I'm a Christian. I believe it's reasonable to be a Christian. I believe it's more reasonable to be a Christian than an atheist, independent of what most people think or what experts think. I have never seen the globe from outer space. I have been in an airplane and I've been on mountains and I see the curvature of the earth. And for me, I'm sufficiently convinced the earth is round. And sadly, many people dispute that fact, but whatever. Love ya. Even if you think the earth is flat, God bless you. Love ya. I have no reason to reject that the earth is round. I have no good reason to reject it. Right? So, what's my standard for if I reject or accept scholarship? I think it's the same thing as every human being, which is, do you believe that's true or not? If you believe it's true and somebody else believes it's false, then you disagree. Right? In the most general sense. Like, that's what politics are. Is under the assumption that voting is fair and accurate, which we'll do a video on if that's true or not. You know, is America really a democracy, or are we an oligarchy in disguise? I would probably say we're an oligarchy in disguise. I'm a bit pessimistic when it comes to politics. But besides the point, under democracy, it's like, okay, majority decides how this country is ruled to an extent, right? We're not a pure democracy. Obviously, we're a representative republic. But with regards to areas where there is democratic freedom, why do we allow people to disagree with the majority? Why do we give power to the minority? Why do we value that in America? Primarily because America was founded on Protestant values, I would hold, is my argument. I would hold that America was founded on Protestant values. You know, the founding fathers, a lot of them were deists, right? They weren't actually Christians. They were Christian in the way that everyone was Christian back then, which is everyone's Christian. Everyone says they're Christian. Everyone believes in Jesus, and they say that because that's just the status quo. But a lot of them were like deists, meaning that God created everything, but then kind of set the clock and then was hands off, right? They're pretty naturalist and materialist in a lot of things. God is impersonal. God is not personal. God is not involved in creation. He just made it and then he's hands off, right? That was a lot of the founding fathers' views. But America was definitely founded in Protestant values, Reformed values. America throughout its history is predominantly Protestant. And the Protestant Reformation was quite literally, we're going to stand up against what is the majority view, what's the expert view, what is the authoritative view, because we believe it's untrue, right? There's no one with more authority in the world in Catholicism than the Pope. And the reformers were like, guys, I think this is a false authority. I think it's wrong. I think the office of the papacy is wrong. I think that this Pope is holding an office that is not in line with the Bible, right? And then since he has an office that's not in line with the Bible, now he's doing things that are not in line with the Bible. That's a very reductive view of church history, by which I'm not an expert, but I have the ability to have an opinion on. And when I put my opinions on the internet, I'm open to scrutiny. So please scrutinize me. I'm not saying I can disagree with experts and no one can tell me I'm wrong. Tell me I'm wrong, please. The whole point of this channel is I want to learn. I have things to learn. I have things to say and share that maybe people could learn from. And then I want to exchange ideas from others, where others give me ideas where I can learn and develop from, you know? I'm not saying, I'm literally saying the opposite of don't question what I think. I'm saying question everything. Question everything. Have reasons for yourself and understand for yourself the views you have. If you grew up Christian and your parents are teaching you Christianity, honor your parents. Honor your parents. And if your parents are devout Christians and you ask them, I want to know Christianity's true for myself, not just because you guys are Christian, then they would welcome that with open arms. Like, yep, let's do that. Let's investigate Christianity. Is it true? Study all the objections. Give us all your doubts. Like, that was my upbringing. My upbringing was not one of a blind, rigid faith. It was one of read the Bible for yourself. Think biblically about everything. Study the objections to Christianity. Study the other worldviews. Discern what's true. Right? So those ideas are not strictly Protestant, of course not. But that's really at the foundation of Protestantism, which is we stand for truth independently of what anyone thinks about it. If it's true, it's true. Right? That's really appealing. Whereas if you've ever had a discussion with a Catholic and you're like, hey, what do you think? They're going to say, I don't know. Let me get back to you. And then 15 minutes later, they just give you the CatholicAnswers.com answer. God bless you, Catholics. I love you. Catholics, many Catholics would destroy me in a debate. Catholics are very intelligent for the most part. Sorry, I should say this. Intelligent Catholics are very intelligent. And I think most Catholics who adhere to the biblical tradition are saved, right? So I'm not crapping on Catholics. I'm just saying Catholics, you yourselves admit that the ultimate authority is the church and that the Bible is a product of the church's authority. Inspired by God, of course, but ultimately assembled by the church would be the Catholic view. And if I'm misrepresenting that, let me know. But in my experiences with Catholics, it's like, hey, here's an objection I have to Catholicism. What do you think? And they're like, I don't know. And then they just look up, what Trent Horn has to say about it or what Catholic Answers has to say about it. And guess what? I do that too. Protestants do that too. Everyone does that too. If somebody asks me, why do you hold, like when I was younger, it's like, why do you hold Sola Scriptura? It's like, why do I hold Sola Scriptura? Let me watch a bunch of videos on it. My fundamental point in this video is every single worldview is a byproduct of your experience. But also, not every worldview can be correct. It is impossible for Christianity and Judaism to be correct. If Judaism is marked by the rejection of Jesus Christ and the rejection of the New Testament and the rejection of the church, then the worldview that is built upon Christ and built upon the church cannot possibly be true. So then, one emerald for diamond armor is so peak. We don't need to be mining for diamonds anymore, boys. We are set. This is why trading halls are OP. This is epic. My position is this, guys. It's quite simple. I'm not against appealing to authorities. All of my worldviews, I appeal to the authority of God. I'm not saying if you appeal to the scientific consensus, you're unreasonable. Don't make conclusions I'm not making. I'm trying to actually have the opposite view of not that my worldview is the center of everything and I'm correct about everything. My worldview is I only know what I've experienced. I only know what I've learned. I only know what I've learned. I only know what I've experienced. I only know what I've known. And within that, I believe that Christianity is true, that God exists. And if somebody wants to ask me my specific reasons for why I believe that, I've made many videos, and I will continue to make many videos answering those types of questions. But I think I wanted to talk about this video mainly because it was just in my head of just like, how do we know things to be true? Right? Like, how do we actually know things to be true? Well, of course, we'd have to assume truth exists and is knowable. How do you know truth? You'd have to assume truth exists and it's knowable. But could truth exist and you don't know it? Of course. I don't think the truth is known by all people. And I think it's still true. Like, we have to have those fundamental assumptions where we don't really have a basis for understanding anything. Guys, I have created a monster. Like, I've made such a mess of this world. I know what we need to do. We've got a bunch of chests here. We got a bunch of chests there. We got a chest there. We need to finish the basement chest room. Because we have the books, like Silk Touch, Unbreaking 3. I know we have Prop 4 somewhere. Prop 4 and Mending. So it's like, I know we have it. I don't think we currently have the levels to make it all. But let's try, shall we? No. We'll get to it later. I want to at least start getting some order to these chests, man. This is absurd. This is absurd. Because ultimately, this channel is just unscripted, guys. It's unscripted. I don't have plans. I do what I want, and I talk about what I want to talk about. And if people aren't into that, they don't have to watch. But thousands of people are interested into this. Whoa. Interested in this. So I'm just going to keep doing what I do, which is sometimes I start a task and don't finish it. And sometimes I start a task and don't finish it. And then I start a new task in that task, and we just never get anything done. But I mean, we've gotten quite a bit done. Iron Farm, super productive. We're getting a good head start. Not head start. We got a good start and foundation on the trading hall. We have Infinite Villager Breeder. We've got Image Bear Farm. We have an unfinished house. We've got tons of unfinished projects going, you know? And we will finish them over the course of these videos. But anyways, I was wanting to talk about what I wanted to talk about because in order to get to any common ground, we have to have a common set of assumptions. If a person tells me there is no such thing as truth, I'm probably never going to talk to that person for any rational discussion. Maybe we could have fun together and enjoy each other's company, because then there's a benefit to our relationship outside of strengthening each other intellectually. But as far as, okay, I think this wall can be the wall of our, like, enchantment area, vault. Yeah. And this could be, it's coming together nicely. This can be XP farm. Yes, I like this. XP farm here. Enchantment area here. Vault here. So I do think that means all this wall I'm going to push back. We're let's see here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, I think that's good. Let's see. How far? I don't want to expose this to the outside, but I can also do some terraforming. So yeah, there's the outside. Brilliant. If a person tells me there's no such thing as truth, I'm just going to say, how do you know that's true? You know, there is no meaning. We can't arrive at objective meaning. Like, okay, what does that mean? Like, we get to exist, there are fundamental assumptions we have to agree upon. Right? And there's no foundation there is no more foundational assumption than God. God is the foundational truth. And if you reject God, okay, I think that's an unreasonable worldview, and we can make a whole video on why. I have, by the way. I've made whole videos on why, but we'll make more. But if you're going to reject God, we can still come to rational understandings of each other if we have the assumption of truth. If we have the assumption of truth, I think we can come to an understanding, even though I think that you can't actually have a rational source of truth without God, like objective truth. I think objective truth requires God, which, again, grounds for another video. But if somebody says, yeah, I believe that truth is objective and that we can know truth or know some truths, right? Maybe there's some things that will always be a mystery to us, but even to assume that there's some truths that will always be a mystery to us is to assume that's true. You see what I'm getting at here? So if there is a objective truth that exists, right, independent of if you ascribe truth being the source, independently of if you ascribe God as the source of truth, for us to have rational conversations, we need to assume God exists. And if you want to have rational conversations without the assumption God exists, I think you can still do that. But then there is an irrational understanding for where truth comes from as far as objective truth goes. So how does all of this fit in with my original point of how I know things to be true? I think it's by the same mechanism anyone thinks anything is true, which is it's what you've experienced. It's what you've learned. It's what you've observed. And if you're going to have a faithful practice of truth, then we all say we could be wrong. And if given evidence and reasons, then I'll change my view, right? So I believe that an objective truth exists, independent of what anyone thinks. That's what it means to be objective. If something is objective, it means independent of a person's view, independent of a person's perspective, independent of a person's experience. It is true. It describes reality. Okay? There are subjective truths with regards to, is it true that my favorite color is blue? Yeah, that's true. But the existence of subjective truths does not determine necessarily that all truth is subjective, right? So I'm not denying subjective truths exist. I'm not denying that subjective morality exists. But in my view, I think that objective morality exists. I think that objective truth exists. And I assume that. It's just an intuition. Truth is an intuition. Sometimes intuition is correct. Sometimes intuition is incorrect. And you test intuition. You test intuition by observation. You test intuition by taking it to its logical extent. There are many ways to test and know if something is true or reasonable or whatever term you want to call it. So we're going to say, yes, I like this. I think this will also add quite a good shape to this house. Maybe not, but I think it will. Add pretty good shape to the house. Make it less just rectangular. And if we hate it, we can just cover it up with dirt, right? Because this is just the basement. We could just cover it all up with dirt. But I like the direction this is going. So then, how much space does that give me? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, I'm cool with this. We can always like this is a this is a quote unquote starter base. You know, we're like 30 episodes in deep in this series. And this is technically still starter base. Like, this is not a mega base. So this vault does not need to contain all of my stuff for the rest of this series. But yeah, let's tie all these points together. Objective truth exists. And we can know truth. People can be wrong about the truth. I can be wrong about the truth. You could be wrong about the truth. Everyone can be wrong about the truth. Truth describes reality independently of how anyone thinks or feels about it. That's why there was a time where everyone thought the world was flat. Because it's just, we didn't know any better. But we were wrong. Right? We didn't know any better, but we were wrong. Yeah, I mean, obviously we're going to terraform this. So this is probably still going to end up being covered up anyways, but I don't really care. Ooh. Interesting. Whatever. I can tinker around with this later. As I'm going to keep tinkering around with it. All of this is going to be buried in dirt, so it doesn't matter. Let's just fix this later. Right now, we need to get a basis for our chests. If objective truth is knowable, and we can be wrong about the truth, we should constantly be trying to understand the truth. Through science, through math, through logic. And I'm not some rigid, it must be logical, strictly, like, we also learn things from experience. We learn things from culture. We learn things from how people think and feel. The reason I'm a Christian is not because I grew up Christian strictly. That's a part of it. And I would be lying to say that's not a part of it. So much of my worldview is informed by what I grew up knowing. That's a part of it. Describe someone's worldview where that's not the case. Because let's say you grew up Christian and now you're an atheist. I'm still pretty confident that your worldview was shaped by growing up Christian, and that's why you rejected it. Is because you didn't like that worldview, right? Like, describe a person whose worldview is not informed by their experiences in childhood. Like that's a nonsense. That's irrelevant to if something's true or not. It shapes what they think, but it's irrelevant to if it's true. or it's irrelevant to if it's reliable. Does this make sense what I'm saying here, folks? I might do shelves because I kind of like adding texture with shelves, but we'll see. Ooh, actually, I like that a lot. Cool. We're going to stick with that. So, you know, you're a brainwashed Christian. You grew up only knowing Christianity. It's like, okay, cool. Like, you're only an atheist because you grew up Christian and you had bad parents who didn't like somebody could say that. It's like, why are we disrespecting each other's parents? Why are we disrespecting each other's upbringings? That has nothing to do with whether something's true or not. Like, if something's true, we should be able to know it independently of appealing to a person's background. But if somebody asks me, like, why are you a Christian? It's like, well, because my parents raised me that way. My parents raised me Christian. And as I've explored Christianity, I've only been more and more convinced that it's true. And if somebody asks me, how do you know it's true? Then that's an awesome question, right? If somebody says you're only a Christian because of your upbringing, I'd say that's a part of it. You know, the idea that I'm only a Christian because of my upbringing is crazy. But I would also be lying to say that growing up Christian wasn't a big influencer of why I'm a Christian today. It's probably the biggest influence of why I'm a Christian today. If you grow up believing something true and you grow up and you believe that same thing, it's not that doesn't make the truth any less reliable. If you grow up believing something false and you believe it's true your whole life, it's still false, right? It's just, I believe that truth is something that is real, independent of how anyone thinks or feels about it. If a person denies the law of gravity, they're still subjected to it. They don't start floating up in the air. If there's no such thing as truth, how come people who deny gravity or are even ignorant of gravity are still subjected to its laws? Because truth is independent of how we think of it. So why do I think Christianity is true? It's because I believe there are good reasons to believe in God. From good reasons from logic, good reasons from science, good reasons from history, namely the Bible. I believe there are good intuitive reasons. I believe there are good moral reasons. So I believe in God. I think it's reasonable to believe in God. I believe God exists. So why am I a Christian? Because I believe Jesus Christ rose from the dead. And my reasons for believing Jesus Christ rose from the dead come from history. My reasons for believing the Bible is reliable comes from studying and reading the Bible my whole life. And finding no flaw or fault or error within Scripture. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, this is going to be more than enough. It's going to be plenty. I believe Christianity is true because I think there are good reasons for Christianity, mainly historical evidence that Jesus Christ is the figure, the central figure of Christianity. And he hinged all of his claims upon resurrecting from the dead. And then he did that. And there's good historical reasons to believe that. And guess what? All of the things I'm saying are totally unsubstantiated. I get that. This is a table of contents video. And then we'll dive into these topics specifically. So I believe that it's reasonable to believe Jesus Christ rose from the dead. I believe it's reasonable to trust the Bible as reliable. So if you want my top 2 reasons that I can express to you that are not personal, right? If you're asking for a impersonal case for why I believe in Christianity, I believe that God exists, and I believe there's good reasons God exists. I believe there are not good reasons that God does not exist. Okay, so if God exists as your starting point, why Christianity? Well, it's as simple as I believe there are good reasons to believe in Christianity. I do not believe there are good reasons to believe in other religions as opposed to Christianity. I believe God exists, and there are good reasons. I believe that Jesus Christ died, rose from the dead, is fully man, fully God. I believe there are good reasons to believe that. And this is the point, my strongest point, because at the beginning of the video I stated this. The strongest point for why anyone believes what they believe is because of what they've experienced. My personal strongest reason I believe in God is because I have known and experienced God personally. I have known and experienced God personally. God has personally revealed himself to me. I have personally experienced and witnessed God's power. I've personally experienced and witnessed the love of Jesus and the power of his grace to transform lives. So, this is a table of contents video. Not saying that this is convincing. This is not an argument. This video is not an argument or me trying to convince you of anything. This video is simply a table of contents of why I believe what I believe. I believe there are good reasons to believe in God. I believe there's good reasons to believe in Christianity. And I have known and experienced God personally. I have witnessed the claims of Christianity being tested, and they hold up. I have seen the truth of Christianity, not purely in the abstract, but I've lived through them. That's why I'm a Christian. And we're going to do videos addressing all those points. We're going to do videos where I explain my own personal testimony of how I've witnessed and experienced and seen God in my life. We'll do videos why I think there's good reasons to believe in God. We'll do videos why I believe there's good reason to believe Jesus rose from the dead. We can do all those types of videos. But for this video, which has come to an end, it's as simple as, I believe there's good reasons to be a Christian. I have good reasons to be a Christian. And I'm sure you have good reasons for the worldview you have. So tell them to me. I want to believe whatever is true. If Jesus did not raise from the dead, I would not be a Christian. If it's impossible for God to exist, I would not believe in God. If something is true, that's what I want to believe. So let's talk about what's true. Let's try to arrive at the truth together. If you made it to this point in the video, thank you so much for watching. Please consider subscribing. At the time of this recording, I am currently unemployed because I just graduated college. So I need to get a full-time job, which means we're probably not going to do as much Minecraft videos. But if we hit 1K subscribers and we start getting monetized, who knows what's going to happen? Maybe I'll do this even more than I'm doing right now. So it costs you nothing. It's totally free. You can always change your mind. Please consider subscribing. I hope you enjoyed this video. God bless you. Signing out for now, boys. Ciao.